Okay, so would you like to start or would you like me to start? I mean, either way, I'm fine.
Let me start. Can you show the next slide, please?
Next slide, that's the
Okay.
agenda.
Yeah, the agenda of the today meeting is a help session regarding the sentiment analysis. So before start with the walkthrough, which are the detail of the walkthrough, which Elena is going to present, I want to point out how important is this assignment, this project, which we have evolved in big data up to this point. It evolves many different things all together. What I see, some people immediately did and submitted the tutorial, which is not difficult, but I'm not sure these people understand what they did and why. They will later when they do the main assignment. So it's okay. You go this way or the other way, the way which is working for you is okay. The most important thing is you learn. And here we have an integration on several things. We have technology, which are going to help us. We have what we have studied from previous classes related with text mining and very specific subtopic there, which is sentiment analysis related with natural language processing and understanding. So you understand all this natural language understanding and processing are very important in what is big data, because we are talking about very specific and challenging data, which is text data and natural language. And here, in these 3 weeks, we are getting together all these things together in big data, which is text data, but it's not just text data, it's understanding of the natural language. And it's not just understanding of the natural language, it's understanding the sentiment in the natural language, which is integration of some linguistic and what is textual analysis. Very important. And everything is integration, very complex, coming to the point that we need some advanced technology in order to deal with this. And we are going to deal with in-memory analytic related with, which is technology we can use in the IBM cloud. So that's why I want to point out, if you feel lost, that you don't understand what you are doing and why, is to try to connect all the dots. There are many different dots to connect. And if you don't connect them, you are going to feel confused, and don't hesitate to ask questions. It's very important you ask questions, because here we are up to the complexity of which is big data technology, and you have to go to the point that you understand that it's not just the specific task, it's not just text analysis, it's not just the textual data, it's everything together. And of course, when we talk about integration of so many things together, we are getting to a point where we need this help section, like today, which Elena is going to work you to the very detail of the thing. But don't get, let's say, don't get so concerned about the detail only. Try to get the big picture, so you really learn. That's is all I want to say now.
So, and by the way, this image was done in R. And if you're interested, you can look into it further. This is a network of terms, okay? Now, okay, so here are the rules. Well, I know that I've been sounding like a broken record, but some people break the rules. Okay, now what's new here is that please do not install the R packages, because right now you're working with the R cloud version, right? And it's 3.6, but the desktop version is 4 point something, right? So the packages that you're trying to install might not be compatible with the cloud version. So please don't install anything except for Snowball C. Okay? Please do not install anything. There are plenty of packages to work with, and you will see. Okay? Now, here, while you're loading the data, you don't want to do like stop, because when you stop something, it starts another process. Okay? Now, this is really sad, but somebody always does this. Please do not put your, especially SQL code, please do not put it in a Word or another text-rich editor, because it introduces some characters that corrupt the code. And for example, Microsoft Word code and etc. Some of the characters you cannot see and you cannot fix the code. Please don't do that, okay? What else is in there? Now you know that you have to exit RStudio properly, right? And for this one, for RStudio, in fact, it does count hours. We were spoiled with the last assignment when the hours were not counting. Trust me, RStudio counts hours, and you get one capacity hour per clock hour. Okay. So now let's enough of that. Let's look at the big picture. So this is what's happening. You have data, right, which is a source. It's your data is in a Excel file, CSV file, right? So we're gonna try to define the business problem we're trying to solve. But before we actually analyze the data, you have to load it into the database, right? The DB2. Then you're gonna check if there are any errors or warning in the log. And what you're gonna do is you need to save the screenshot of the load status. Immediately when you're done with the load, save the screenshot, okay? Now, then you're gonna be validating the load programmatically. What do I mean by programmatic? It means writing the code, right? You're gonna check the metadata, you're gonna check, well, metadata means the fields and the data types. And then you also want to check the row count. The number of rows that got loaded must match the number of rows in the CSV file, right? Oh, but when you download the CSV file, please do not open it. You cannot open it before you upload it, because if you do open it, you're gonna have problems. Okay, because the date format gets corrupted immediately. So please don't do that. Now, then once your data is in the database, you're gonna run some queries. Then you're gonna go to the R environment, you're gonna read some data, right? You open the connection and you read data, do some analysis in R, then you're gonna interpret your findings and discuss the limitation and what you're gonna do in the future study, right? So, okay. So what is DB2 on cloud? It allows you to do the built-in analysis, right? And it allows you, it supports the advanced properties, because sometimes when you're working with a data set, you don't need to have it all in memory, right? And it's also generally a distributed database. Since we have in a trial account, so when you create the instance, it's going to be sitting on a single node. But if you are not a trial account, then it's a distributed database. So if you notice that when you go to credential, you have a host, right? And you also have part of the host is also the node number. Notice that the host URL and node number, right? So whenever you're experiencing a problem, such as unable to launch the console, you need to specify the host you're on, right? Please do that, because sometimes it's not the total outage, it's just the certain host that could be temporarily down. All right, so you need to specify the host when you're reporting issues. Okay. Now, well, what kind of analysis you can do? You can analyze for trends if your data has dates. You can do the term association. You can do decision tree. K-means clustering. Although the code is not provided as part of the tutorial, I verified that this method works. Okay, now hierarchical clustering, network of terms analysis, and you can also do naive Bayes. That package is pre-installed. I checked that too. Now, So, and in general, you can connect other tools to the DB2. We're not going to do it for this assignment, but this is just general note. Now, this is important. If you delete the service, you're going to lose all work that you did in there, right? And the deletions cannot be undone. So the way we're going to do it is this. Make sure that you save all your SQL code, local copy, right? Make sure that you have all your copies of your queries on your computer, if you will, right? Desktop or laptop, whatever you're using. You want to have a local copy of all the code, because if something happens to the service, which might, and if you have to redo the work, right, the database work, what you'll need to do is you're just gonna reload the data, but the queries, the work that you do with queries should be reproducible. You can just rerun, right? With some exceptions. When you recreate the service again, the credentials are gonna be different, right? And also, well, the service is, if you look at if you look at this, look at this here, right? So this is, I opened my service page. Well, it says DB2D7, but your name, your service name, this here, the suffix is going to be different, okay? Now, this is something that came up in a ticket this week. If you don't see this menu over here, if you don't see getting started, manage service credential connections, if you don't see that, then you probably added the service from Cloud Pak. But you need to add the service from the IBM Cloud Catalog. Please do not add it from Cloud Pak, because you're not going to see this menu. This came up in one of the tickets this week, okay? Now, so you need to make sure that you see this. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to the credentials and you're going to add new credentials, right? You're going to do that only once, and then you just reuse it. And you want to copy this piece of code into the text part, perhaps, because you're gonna need to know your the host. You're gonna need to know your password and the username, right? Username is going to be your schema in the uppercase. Username is uppercase. It's going to be your database username, the schema. So let's go back. Now you know that deletions cannot be undone. So well, you don't delete anything until we tell you that it needs to be deleted. Okay, now, to load the data, this is what the screenshot is going to look like. Well, I realize that I took the specific screenshot in the fall, but it does not matter. Your screenshot, if you took the class in the fall, please reload the data again. You want it fresh, okay? Now, once load is complete, you need to compare the number of rows. See this? Here it's gonna say rows read and the rows loaded. And very important, the screenshot that you submit must show the start time and end time, because those two are key important pieces of information. We usually need to know how long the load took, right? So this is important. You must show if there are errors or warning. Now, error is something that could stop execution. Warning, it's not an error, but it means that something did not get loaded right. Then you would need to look into details, okay? Especially, it does not like when you have the new line characters in text fields, but I took care of it before giving you the data. So nothing to worry about from that point, okay? Now here, when I say validate the load programmatically means to write the code, right? So here for today's example, I'm not gonna do the airlines data because that's gonna be cheating. It's your homework assignment, right? Instead, I'm gonna look at the hotels review and I'm gonna give you the code and the data when we're done, okay? So what I did was I loaded the hotels review data in my service, but let me go ahead and launch this. I'm gonna get started. Oops, not get started, manage, and I'm gonna click open console. All right, work. Once in a while, the application layer goes down, but the database still works. Once in a while, you might not be able to launch the console, but you might still be able to access your data from R. Okay, because it has to do with several layers. You've got the database, right? And the application layer sits on top of the database, right? So now, Notice that this is a list of schemas. This is my schema with 2 tables on it, and the other ones are pre-existing. So ignore those, and you want to look at your schema, right? Okay, so now suppose that you didn't pay attention and you forgot to download the screenshot. This is where you're gonna get it. You're gonna go here, load history.
Oh,
This is where you're gonna get your screenshot, okay? So if you forgot to download the screenshot after you loaded the data, and if you did not delete the log, see this? Load history. And in my case, I uploaded the airline sentiment and I also uploaded the hotel's review data for today, right? So, and also I could go ahead, I could click on this and it's gonna give me what actually happened. So in the hotel review data set, that's how many records I have, right? About 36,000, 0 rows rejected, right? So if I was going to submit this, I would show the screenshot. All right. Now what I'm gonna do, go to the SQL. Well, first maybe I should show you the Explorer, but this is what we are not doing. We are not validating the load by selecting all data from the table because you saw how many records I have, right? This is not realistic. Nobody is going to look through thousands of rows in a table, right? So here it is. This is just to show you the columns, right? You have address, well, and etc., right? That's hotel information. And also you're gonna have the review title, review text, review rating, etc., right? So this is the hotel review data. Now let's, and you can click on view data to just preview, but this is the way to validate the load. But I'm just showing you what the data looks like, all right? So this is the hotel name. You got the hotel name, you got the hotel location, then you have the sentiment. Now remember that it's not always neutral, positive, etc., right? It could be slightly negative, slightly positive. It could be 5 values. And then you've got the review text and etc. Okay, now let's go to the SQL. So this is what you're gonna do here. You're gonna go to the run SQL. That's an interface. In the beginning, when you first open it, you're gonna select from blank file option, right? Now, what I did was, this is a code for today's session, but please don't depend on saving data here. Don't depend on saving your code here because, well, there is no guarantee that it will still be here when you log back in. And because sometimes something could happen to the service and you need to create another one and you have to be able to rerun the code to reproduce. Well, there are many reasons, but please make sure you do what I did here. I have a copy. This is the SQL code, right? This is a copy of this code. And I'm using the Notepad. Notepad++ is another good editor, or you can use TextPad, but please don't use a rich source, okay? So now, I have several options. I can run one query at a time. If I do that, I can just do the run selected, right? And then I just, I can run this, oops, here it is, this run selected. And then I just execute. If you don't see the results here, you click on this arrow, okay? And you're gonna see the results here. This is a number of rows. Let's close this. You're gonna see this little thing, ignore it, ignore this error. If you see this little error, ignore it. It's a, yeah, false positive. So now this one, right? This will show the, this is looking at the metadata table. What you need to remember is that the table name and the column names is that stored in the uppercase. So see that I have 2 tables in the metadata, in the data dictionary table, all table names and all the creator, right? This information is always stored in the uppercase. So just remember that part. And this one is just gonna give me the list of columns, etc. Well, the rest of the columns are not included here because they're more advanced. That's something you would look at if you were in a DBST program. But here we just care about the name, the table, and this is a TB creator is the person who created this table. And here nulls, if you see letter Y, it means that you may put a null value in a column. Null means unspecified, right? Unavailable. Or in R, it's an A. In SQL, it's a null. Okay, so this tells me if column can be nullable, and that's a column length, the number of characters. Varchar, what's the difference between varchar and character? Varchar, it sort of like sets aside the specified number of characters, but if not all characters are occupied, it will just reuse the space, if you will. But on the other hand, if I declare it as character 345, always 345 characters would be allocated, regardless of how many I'm actually using. Okay, so now that was this. Now we're gonna go back to the slides because I'm gonna be showing you SQL today, right? Oh, but before we do that yet, here, this is what's gonna happen. I was on a Explore interface and I forgot to tell you, well, oh, this is the data load actually. The data load interface has several options, okay? One option is, well, that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna load it into the new table and you're gonna just add data because you're loading into a new table. On the other hand, if you load into existing table, you have an option to override the data, existing data, or you can append. So those are the options, right? Overwriting previously loaded table with new data. However, if your data load gets errors, if you get an error, but if the table was created and the data was not loaded, you probably want to drop the table. And I'll show you how to do that, okay? Now, okay, so to reload the data, you want to drop existing table. And you're gonna do, okay, let me show you. Since this slide is already, look, you're gonna go to here, and then this is the Explore interface, where is the Explore? You're gonna go to tables, right? And you're gonna go to the, I'm not gonna drop it, but I'm gonna show you what you could do. So this is a hotel review. If something went wrong, you're gonna go here, and you're gonna select drop, okay? Now remember this important. When you drop the table, you remove the table structure, not just the data that's in it, but you're removing the whole table structure, okay? This is not delete. Delete deletes all data. Drop will remove the table itself, okay? And then truncate, it will, you will keep the table, but it will remove all data and reclaim the space, okay? Now, so let's go back. So you know where you would need to, right? You would need to do drop in here if you need to start from scratch, if you will, okay? Now, this is how to do it programmatically, how to drop the table if you were going to run the code, okay? So truncate, it will keep the table in place, but it will remove the data and reclaim the space, right? Drop will remove the table completely. See this? So you write the code drop table and put a table name. That's what it's gonna do, okay? This is how to do it programmatically. Now, I showed you how to return to the load history page, right? Okay, now we're gonna get to everybody's favorite part, the select statement. At least it's my favorite. And let's review. It's important to review based on one of the tickets that I saw today. Okay, so we have a select clause, right? A select, you specify which columns you're pulling from table or multiple tables. From clause, you specify the tables where you're taking the data from. Good news, in this assignment, you only pulling data from one table, okay? So that's gonna be the table name in the from clause. Where clause, it allows you to filter individual rows, or you can specify the joins condition if you're taking data from multiple tables, which is not the case unless, well, there are some exceptions, okay? But you're working with one table, but you might want to do something more advanced, such as self-joins, but okay, I'm not gonna get into that now. Okay, so here from is where you're getting the data from. Each table, each query must have select and from clause because you need to specify what you're getting and from where you're getting it. Where is going to filter the rows, okay? So individual rows. Group by, here are those are the columns that you use for grouping, right? So for example, if you want to aggregate the data, perhaps you want to find an average grade on assignment 2 by course session, right? So you're going to be grouping by the assignment name and the course session. This is where you would specify. Having pick the subsets of groups, right? So if you want to select, let's say, the assignment, well, suppose you're looking at the, well, if you want to, if you have multiple sessions of data 650, let's just assume, and you're calculating the average assignment 2 grade for each session. And if I want to list only the session that have an average grade above 85, I would have to use the having clause because I'm filtering on the average value, right? I'm not filtering on individual test. I'm filtering on the average of the test, okay? So having clause applies to the group. When you do the select statement, right, the spelling of the column names has to match the spelling of the column names in the database. In this case, in a query, in a select statement, column names are not case sensitive. However, when you look at the metadata, they're stored in the uppercase. All table metadata is stored in the uppercase, right? Remember that. Okay, so we got this, right? In here, this is just showing you that you could have a where clause with multiple conditions. So let's take a look. I think I have this. I like to run stuff. I don't like to just do like a dry lecture with, okay, so let's go to run SQL. Okay, so here, what you do is where clause, you can specify multiple conditions in here. So for example, I can do the pattern matching. Like is gonna do the pattern match, and this is here, this guy here before the traveler. This is a wildcard character. It stands for 0 or many, any characters, right? So in other words, the reviews username contains this, contains traveler. That's what they're doing. So here you're pulling the category, name, and reviews text from hotel reviews where rating is neutral. So here is a where clause because you're filtering the individual posts. And here you want to do where reviews username contains traveler. But here you want it to be case insensitive, right? I don't care if it's uppercase or lowercase. So one way to do that is to convert it to uppercase, and here you put it in uppercase. Well, if you want to do comparison, you have to use the same case, right? That's one way. Now, distinct here will list the distinct, the unique sentiment values, right? So let's run this. You have to do that because you need to know how many how many values you have and what those values are. So I'm gonna just click on this here. Well, it tells you that those are the values that you have, right? And the good news are that I don't see any missing values. Well, I do actually. See this? I have some tweets in here where sensitive is not, where sentiment is not specified. See that? So there are multiple ways to handle it in your analysis. You could, in your query, you could say something like where review rating is not null, or you can treat null as a different value, such as unknown, something like that. You can treat it as a separate value. Then you're gonna have something like NVL, okay, NVL function. Now let's close this out. Okay. Now, here, what this will do, it's getting a little bit harder now. We want to list how many times each hotel was mentioned, right? So now, actually, we should be so far so good because this is what you did in a graded exercise in another assignment, right? I'm gonna do run selected. That was a graded exercise. you're looking at the hotel and you want to count how many times it's mentioned. So the grouping is by hotel name, and you just count the name, right? So now, what's the difference between count star and count name? Well, think about it, because if the name is null, this count name, this will ignore the nulls. On the other hand, if I put count star, it's gonna count the nulls, okay? So now, this one, if you want to do the preview, and for assignment 3, if your query returns a lot of rows, you don't need to take screenshots of all of them. What you do is you just take a partial output and you specify in paper that this is a partial output, something like that. Okay, you don't need to turn in 100 pages paper. Okay, now now this is gonna be, it's gonna get a little bit harder right now. So if you notice that my list was long, right? I have 299 rows. So suppose that I only want to look at the hotels that were mentioned, at least they were mentioned more than 400 times. So here, what we need to do is we have to use the having clause, because I'm not eliminating the individual posts. I'm eliminating the hotel based on this count, right? So this is a having clause. But here, this is a where clause, because I'm looking at the rows where category is hotel, right? So I'm gonna run this, run selected. Okay, and I'm gonna do, okay, so here it is. Now I'm down to 3 hotels, okay? Something like that. Now what we'll do, this one is how many times each sentiment is mentioned. And we want to skip the records missing the sentiment. Do you remember that we had some null values? So what I did is I decided to skip. So I have to say reviews rating is where reviews rating is not null. So when I say condition is not null, it's gonna skip the rows with null reviews rating values, right? And again, the same group by that I have, right? And I'm just gonna run this. So this part should be, well, not easy, but more or less straightforward, because you did this in the other assignment. You had this type of sequel before. Now here, well, this is another way to handle missing values. I want to treat the unknown, the null, the missing reviews rating as unknown. So I'm using NVL function, and NVL will treat this. If it's null, it's gonna code it as unknown, right? So let's see what's gonna happen. So instead of adding this where clause where review rating is not null, I put NVL. Okay, so do run selected, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now you're not gonna see null, you're gonna see unknown, okay? And I decided not to sort it. I could sort it. If I wanted to, I could sort it. But to sort it, I could either specify the column name, right? Or I could also do the positional. I could do order by, and then I could put the column position in a query. Like here, if I want to sort by the first column, I could put order by and then put 1. You can do specify the column position too when you do the sorting. Now, here comes the fun part, and I would like you guys to pay attention to this. And you have something similar in ungraded exercises for this week. You're given another opportunity to practice this type of queries, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's look at the output. It will make more sense now. Output, and this is a typical job report. At work you will see this reports, trust me. I want to put out 1 line per hotel, and I want to have the first, in the second column I want to list the number of positive tweets, right? The next one I want to list the number of slightly positive mentions, neutral, slightly negative, and etc., right? But the trick here is this: if they're known, I don't want to skip a row. I want to list as 0, right? If you have a hotel that does not have any negative mentions, you want to list 0 in a corresponding cell, but you still want to see the hotel. You don't want the hotel to be dropped, right? So, and this is why if you choose to use a join, you really need to know how to do it. I don't recommend using a join. I recommend using the case statements, right? You use a case statement and I'll show you how. But the whole idea is this. You're gonna take the sum, right? But you're gonna treat, you can represent this whole thing as, no, how to talk? You can look at each post, right? You can look at each post and you can write it as a set of 0 and 1s. For example, if it's a positive, if the post has a positive mention, right? You can think of it, if you think of individual posts, you're gonna have a 1 in the positive column and 0 in slightly positive, neutral, negative, right? And slightly negative. Well, you can think of it, let's look at it. If you look at each post, right, individually, you can evaluate if it's positive or if it's slightly positive or if it's neutral. If it's neutral, you're gonna put a 1 in a column where it's neutral, right? So basically, in another word, this is what it's doing. It's doing a case statement. And if review rating is positive, then in that specific row, it's gonna, it pretends that it's gonna have a 1, right? And then it's taking a sum. I hope, guys, it makes sense. Because what you're doing here is that in here, you're gonna check if the rating is slightly positive, then it's a 1, otherwise it's a 0. So you can represent the whole table. You can represent this, every record, right? Every tweet can be represented as a sequence of 1, 1 and a lot of zeros. You have a 1 in a column where, based on the sentiment, right? If the mention is positive, you're gonna have 1 in the positive column, 0 in the rest, right? So you can think of it this way. So you're gonna have, for each column here, you're gonna have a sum, and then in here you're gonna have a count, which is a total. You saw something similar, ungraded exercise in another assignment, right? It was a little simpler, but it was setting the stage for this one. You have something like this in the ungraded exercises for this assignment, right, for sentiment analysis tutorial. And I'm not sure how to emphasize how important it is to do it, because if you don't do it, you'll be sorry that you didn't do it when you get to the assignment 3. Okay, I've said enough. So, and that's a query, and you're gonna have a copy of this. Okay. Oh, so this is a preparation. I left the preparation in here for you. Oops. And then the final query. So if I look, oops, if I look at the preparation, right, I keep it just for you, just to show you what's actually happening. So let's do run selected. Okay, I realize that I saved it here for you. Take a look at this. This is how you would break that down. Let's break it down. So I have this hotel, right? I have it mentioned somewhere, and in that specific row, I have it slightly positive, right? Can I represent it like this? If it's slightly positive, I have a 1 here and 0 in the rest of the columns, right? Well, just think of it this way. I'm just showing you a big picture. And then I can take the sum. Can I do that? That's what exactly I'm doing in there. You create a column, positive, slightly positive, neutral, slightly negative, negative, right? And if the post, if the tweet is negative, perhaps, then you're gonna have a 1 in negative column and 0 in the remaining columns, and you just take the sums, right? Makes sense? So I kept this intermediate step for you, and this is gonna be the final select statement. Okay, this is gonna be the final select statement. And also when you sort, important thing to note is that, see this, you can specify where you want to list the missing values. So nulls last means that if the hotel value is not specified, it's gonna be listed at the end, okay? So I'm gonna go here, and this is the result. But if I scroll all the way to the end, well, apparently this is just a preview, but if there were any missing hotel names, then they would appear all the way at the bottom. Okay. Now, this is here. This is a little I'm just trying to show you the differences between the counts, right? Because if you do this count review rating, then this is gonna exclude the nulls, okay? It's gonna exclude the nulls. So just remember this, a count will ignore the missing values if you're doing it this way, if you put the column in parentheses. But if you put count star, then the missing values are not ignored, okay? Now, and this one is two columns, right? Remember you had ungraded exercise before where you had two grouping columns, but now something along this line is gonna show up as graded, okay? Ungraded exercise from yesterday is gonna be graded today. Okay, so now here, this is a province review rating, and then it's a number. That's what it's doing in here. Okay, so I have two grouping columns. I have, see this, the province and review rating. These two are the grouping columns. They're non-aggregate columns. So if you remember this, each non-aggregate columns in select clause must appear in group by clause. Just remember this and you will be correct most of the time. Now, we need to talk about the subquery. What is a subquery? It's a query inside of the query, right? And it's a query that it may return one value, it may return the list of values, or it may return something like a virtual table, which is multiple rows and multiple columns, right? We can place the subquery in a select from, where, and having clause. If you believe for a known reason, if you can have a subquery in a group by clause, I would like to see an example, working example. If you believe that you can put a subquery in the order by clause, I also would like to see the working example, okay? Because as far as I know, you cannot. It's only select from, where, and having, and you may also add a subquery, it's inline subquery. I'm not sure if you have seen it above the select clause, you can put, it's called with clause. Well, I'm not going into it, but if you're interested, I'm more than happy to provide examples for you. Now, subquery, if subquery returns one value, more likely you're gonna have it in a where clause or having clause, and you're gonna be using it with a comparison operators, right? If it's a virtual table, more likely it's gonna be in a from clause, right? And we're gonna look at the examples of the subquery. Well, this one is just a list. Suppose that I want to list, let's say, the provinces that do not have any positive ratings. There are several ways to do it. First of all, you may think of the subquery could obtain the list of hotels that have positive rating, right? The subquery will get the list of hotels that have positive rating. And the outer query is say that the province is not on the list that inner query returns, right? That's one way to do it. You can say inner query get the list, right? And the outer query checks if the province in question is not on the list, right? That's one way. But see this, you're not gonna do this. You're not gonna run an inner query in isolation and take a list and hard code in the outer query. This is not the right way to do it, because the data is changing. You might have new hotels. You're not gonna go back and edit your list all the time, right? So that's why you're gonna put the subquery inside and let it rerun for you each time you need to get the results, right? So and I think I also have it in here. I have this. Oh, and this one here, well, it might be slightly different example. You take in the hotels where province not in GA. Yeah. So that's something similar. You want to list the hotels that are not located in a GA province, right? So first you need to find out which hotels are located in GA province, and then you're gonna get this not in, right? It's like a difference problem. Well, in reality, when you have when you have millions of rows, not in might take a long time to run. Well, just keep it in mind for your work experience. But in this specific example, since I don't want to introduce joins or anything like that, let's just keep it this way, because your data is not large enough to cause issues. Okay, now here it is. This is another example of the subquery, not in, right? And in here, this is just showing you this. let's see, here it shows you the name, and it's gonna give you the number of positive, right? Positive ratings by name. Oh, look, this query set the stage for this, because here you want to know the average number of positive posts per hotel, right? Per hotel name. And in here, what this is doing is this. Look, it's selecting the name, and it's selecting the number of province count where rating equals positive and category is hotel, right? So it's doing this, and then it's taking the average. So this is an example here where you have a subquery that returns a table. It's in the from clause. It's going to return the hotel name. It's going to also return the number of positive mentions, right? And then it's going to take that, and it's going to compute the average. It's an average number of positive mentions for all hotels. So here I'm going to say, I'm going to know how many positive mentions each hotel has, right? And then I need to take the average. That's what it is. So the inner table, the inner query returns the hotel and number of times it has positive mentions. And the outer query just takes the average. Okay, so that's an example. And this is more example. Hotels that have above average number of positive posts, right? So you want to know, you want to calculate the number of positive posts, right? But in a having clause, you want to take the number of above average. So you're gonna say, hey, what is the average number of positive counts, right? So here you want to select average, and here you take an account. So see this, that query above, that little subquery above set the stage for this query. You can have multiple levels of nested subqueries, right? So here, this is going to return average number of positive posts in general per hotel, right? How many positive mentions the hotels have on average. But in here, you need to know which hotels are above that average, right? So this is going to be in a having clause. Why? Because you are eliminating the hotels. You're not eliminating individual posts. So having clause eliminates the group. Just remember that. Okay. So we covered this. Okay. So, and this is, I just put some slides in here just to explain. Okay. Now, this is important too. Oh, wait, I saw somebody posted. I must have missed. Oh, positive, negative, it's a column. There is a column, Clay. Let me show you. Let me go back to this. In the table, I have a column that is called review rating, and the review rating has the values such as positive, negative, etc. So if I do, I thought I had a query where I can pull the distinct ratings, right? And then you will see that, oh, here it is. Review ratings, if I run this query, run selected, you have a table, you have a column called review rating. And here in this review rating column, it stores the possible sentiment values. So the tweet is going to be either negative, neutral, positive, slightly negative. So those are the values. Oh, okay, no problem, no problem. No, I'm so glad that you asked, because it's getting more and more, you know, it gets in more depth, yes. Okay, now what we'll do, close this, right? So, no problem, no problem. It's always good idea to ask. Okay, now, when you do RStudio, right now, thank goodness, there is only one environment. You want to make sure that the environment that you select has one capacity unit per hour, right? Well, thank goodness they removed the other two, because when students selected the other two by default, right, they ran out of hours in no time. So we're good right now. Well, this is important part because it tells you how to connect establish a database connection. This is a code that you're gonna have in R, but except, well, what I did here, I took the credentials block and I put it side by side to tell you where things go. So here, this is the host, right? I notice that it goes -db txn sbox such and such DAL09, and then it's a node number 4. So that's a node where your box, your, so to speak, account is located, right? Sometimes the I'm reproducing the problem and you are not, or the other way around. It's because maybe my service is on another host. So that's why I'm asking you. Some of you ran into problem with launching the service when you started, and I told you to delete the service, and by chance it could be created another host. So if you ever have to do this again, well, what you need to make sure that you save all your SQL on your desktop. Then when you create a new service, your credentials are going to be different. You would have to copy new credentials, right? So this is how you establish the connection. The connection has different parts, such as driver, database. That piece over here is the same for everybody. What's different is the host, because it's a distributed database. It may put randomly on any available node. Then you put a username and password, and this is just opens up the connection object, right? This is how you connect to the database, and you start selecting data from database. But what I did, I put some of the troubleshooting here. Well, first of all, this one either show tables, it's going to list the tables that are in your schema, right? Then you can, well, here, suppose that you have a long list of tables and you know that the table, your table name contains the word air. You can do this, match string, this will return the tables that contain air in the name, right? Or you can also do this, check if the table exists, right? Now, this is another way to check the table metadata programmatically in R. Okay, you can run these queries in R. This is similar queries that I showed you in DB2, but either df command allows you to just run a query and output results to the screen. You pass the connection object that you created before, and this is the query that you're going to run. And the output will be displayed on a screen, right? But for analysis, you're going to load data to the data frame, so it's slightly different function. But I'm just telling you this. Here, what you want to pay attention to, because you're going to be working, you're going to be doing the visualization. If you see that your disk usage is turning yellow, it's time to delete some of the stuff. Like, for example, in here, I have a matrix M, which is huge. I probably want to delete that if I'm not using. And then if you go to your plots, the visualizations take a lot of space. So you want to download, if you need to keep visualization, save a copy on your machine and delete. You know, the plots, they take up space. So you want to pay attention to the disk usage, because if you go too high, you might not be able to open the RStudio. No, I'm serious, okay? I'm very serious about this stuff. Now, well, this is what happened to one of your, somebody reported this issue. See this? There's no menu in the left. It's because, I'm not gonna mention names, but it's because the person who reported it did not add the service from IBM Cloud. We need to add the service from IBM Cloud catalog, not Cloud Pak catalog, okay? So just remember this. And also, this is a troubleshooting. I like to teach people how to troubleshoot, so to speak. So when you try to establish the connection, right? Some of you ask for common errors. So this is one. If you see username and password invalid, then it means that when you set up the username and password, you probably specified that you probably mistyped it, and you probably took the credentials from another service that you deleted, or I'm not sure, but it means that username and password are incorrect. You need to check your username and password. That's what it is, okay? Now, this is a common issue too. So sometimes you're trying to run a query. See, this is a query, and no rows got returned. if no rows got returned, what you need to do is you want to check, you want to make sure that your query is valid. So if the query doesn't return anything, first you check, make sure if the query is valid. And one way to do that is to take your query and run it in the DB2 and see if it returns an error, right? Another possibility is that the criteria in a query does not return any data. So, I mean, one way to troubleshoot is to take this query and run it in DB2. In addition, DB2, it does not use the capacity hour. So, you win here too. So here, in this case, I misspelled the column name, right? I misspelled, it's text, not text. Okay, now let's come back. Oh, here, this is what's gonna happen. I'm trying to, I thought I read my data, and then, okay, I started doing a lot of stuff. I loaded a lot of packages in memory. Well, the problem is some functions such as inspect, they appear in multiple packages. It appears in a rules to inspect the association rules, and it also appears in a text mining, the TM package, where you can preview the document. So sometimes if you have both packages in memory, R does not know which package to call. So what you need to do is you need to qualify the method name with the package name. Here, you're gonna put a rules and then you put the function name. It will know that you're calling the function from a rules package. Okay? Now, sometimes when you run the command to load the package in memory, you're gonna get a warning. Sometimes you're gonna get a warning. It's gonna say that you had another package with a function that has the same name, something like that, right? Sometimes you get a warning. It's not an error, but a warning. But in this case over here, you got an error because it does not know that you're trying to call the association rules inspect function. It's trying to call the inspect function of the TM package, okay? So you want to remember this. Now here, well, I'm just showing you the issue. Here is not valid context error. It means that the query has a syntax error. So you want to make sure that you have correct spelling of the column names, right? In a select statement here, in this case, you can specify in a lowercase. But the columns are stored in the uppercase in the metadata tables that we looked at before, right? So you want to check you want to check, make sure you check what the error is, and you want to check the spellings. Most of the time, the error is with spellings, okay? For instance, you could have a missing underscore, etc. So check the spelling. And this is a undefined name error. It means that your table name is misspelled, okay? This is, you probably know this one already. This is how you check, you're gonna check how much hours you have remaining. Well, I should say this cloud pack, but anyways, this slide reappears from a past assignment. You know by now how to check how many hours you have remaining. And also, if you used RStudio last month, right? Or if your hours were going down last month, notice that on March 1st, your hours were reset to 50, okay? Now, well, this is just some additional tips. You want to save the copy of all code, R code, and SQL in your PC, because what happens if you cannot launch RStudio on the night when assignment is due? You're like, oh, did Elena say that it might happen? You never know, right? So, and also please use the, do not use the rich text editor. Trust me, do not use that. I'll have a lesson learned from this. Use the TextPad or Notepad or Notepad++, but please do not use the WordPad, do not use Word, do not use PowerPoint, etc. Because that code is not going to be the runnable code anymore. Now you must do the ungraded exercises for the maximum benefit, and also because what's ungraded today will be graded tomorrow. It may happen in this class or it may happen in the work environment as well, right? Now, you want to want to ask for assistance? Well, here I should edit this sentence because we no longer have question and answer discussion. you know that you need to submit the Salesforce ticket now, right? For technical issues. And you want to follow instructions, you want to go beyond examples in the walkthrough. Like for example, taking a walkthrough and plugging in the assignment 3 data, this is a no-go, right? Because your analysis must be in light of that data, right? And just remember this, the best way to get something done is to begin, okay? So if you have not, you need to begin working on assignment. Do not wait until the last date because something always goes wrong when you do it on the last day, okay? And these are some additional useful R commands. Combine command, right? Well, and etc. Library will tell you installed packages, and search will tell you packages loaded in memory because, well, the package could be installed, but it's not available until you load it in memory, okay? So, are we guys good? Are we on a way for an A? Everybody's good? I would like to see questions. Or I'm gonna start asking questions. Huh? Guys, questions, please. Questions. Lunesh, is there anything you would like to add while people are trying to type their questions?
No, I think you covered pretty much everything. And if there are no questions, that means everybody's going to go for an A now.
Yeah, well, DB2, it does not use all hours. No. DB2 does not. R does, but not DB2. So that's one reason you want to take advantage of the ungraded exercises, huh? That's one reason, because first of all, it does not use hours. Second, you want to learn SQL, right? There are few things in there that I wish everybody who finishes this class knows, right? And especially that advanced queries that I showed you, because this will come up at work. Yes, it will. If you're doing the reporting, if you use SQL, yeah. But yes, it does not use any of the hours, except for, well, it does take time to get the work done, but it does not use capacity hours. Well, yes, it's a lot of switching back and forth. Well, okay, so to access the SQL, you go into the IBM Cloud and you're gonna launch your you're gonna launch your service from the dashboard, right? Because if you go back, right, this is gonna be, it's in your dashboard. This is what you're gonna do. So the DB2 service, it's gonna be in here in the services. You notice that I need to do some cleanup. I have some old instances that I need to delete. Now for you, you have a limit to 10 services. So please don't do what I just did. This is what not to do, okay? So you have a service here, you're gonna launch it from here, right? This is that's what you're gonna do, okay? You're gonna launch it from here. This is for the SQL. For the R part, you're gonna do to Cloud Pack, right? The same way that you did for the Spark tutorial, because you need to open the project to launch the R Studio. Let's look at it this way. In order to launch the R Studio, you need to go to your Spark project. How did you access Spark last time, right? What did you do to access Spark? You remember it, right? It's still fresh in the memory. And in there, you have, well, for instance, let me see. If I go data platform, right? Data platform something, remind me the URL. Data platform, ibmcloud.com, right? And this is going to be where the R is, right? So what you do, you're gonna type your whatever username you're using, right? And then for some unknown reason, it's using cookies. Because I'm logged into IBM Cloud, this is how it found me. See? Okay, now, if you remember this, we got projects here. You got the projects, and this was the last project. And you need to launch the R Studio from the project. So you're gonna go to the project, Spark tutorial, whatever you created. And I believe it's explained in instructions, but I still would like to show. It does not matter, I still would like to show since you asked, then maybe other people want to ask something like that. Now in here, this is where it is, launch IDE, and then you click RAS Studio. Sometimes it might take a little bit to launch. It depends on how you exited the last session. If you exit the session incorrectly, next time you could have some issues with loading RStudio. Okay? Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I tried to explain it, and we tried to explain it in instructions. Yes, it is explained in assignment instructions. Absolutely, because if it's not, then how are you gonna do that? And I think some people already finished the assignment, so if they were able to figure out, then it should be explained in there. I could check, but okay, if it's not, then let me know, submit ticket, and we'll go over it in details. But here it is launch RStudio. Another important thing, you can launch RStudio only from one project at a time. Because if you have like several projects open in the different tabs, no, this is a no-go. Please don't do that, okay? You're gonna launch it from here, right? And RStudio does take hours. So when you take a break, right? When you take a break, you want to save all the code and also save it on your computer, right? And you want to stop the environment. You want to exit and stop if you're taking your lunch break, perhaps. Because probably the R code for assignment 3 cannot be done in one sitting. For the tutorial, yes, you can do it in one sitting, right? Then when you are asked to take the screenshot of the output from ls command, you want to do it right away, right? Because you want to see what happens when you don't want to take it at the end of the exercise. You want to take it right away because the goal is to show what happened when you define the connection, right? All right. Well, no, it's not the same as stopping the kernel. You would have to exit the RStudio. Well, let me start it. So I need to show you what you need to do. You have to start the RStudio. Okay, now, here you have to be really careful. Well, this is correct, but sometimes they're gonna throw a curveball. They're gonna put more options here. So if they do, make sure that you select only one capacity. Okay. Now I'm gonna click launch. It's starting RStudio, right? It's starting. There is no stop kernel here, but you have to do something else. You have to go to your runtimes and stop the runtime. So here I'm launching RStudio. It depends on what I did in last session, but you need to be careful with how you exit, because when you reopen, it tries to restore the past state, right? Remember, there are two files that get saved when you quit the R session, right? So when this is gonna start, but then to stop it, you would need to go to the, well, I don't want to do it. Let me see if I can open in a new tab to show you. Then to stop it, no, I don't want to do that. See the problem? I'm creating a problem with doing two tabs. Please don't do that. But now, see this, if we go to stop it, you would need to go to environmental runtimes. Well, it's under the administration and you would need to stop it. Now, well, take a look at this. It shows that I have my RStudio running at the moment. This is active environments and it's gonna show up in here, okay? So to stop it, you're gonna click here, go select stop. But I'm not gonna do it yet because I'm now in RStudio, right? So in here, well, if you go to the files, well, do you see this? R.data and R.history. R.history that stores all the history, and R.data stores state, right? So if you will, see this is what I was doing when I exited the last session. If you leave a lot of stuff in here, right? The next time when you log in, you're gonna take longer to load the RStudio. So keep that in mind. And you also want to pay attention to the space. Well, right now, for unknown reason, I don't see it. Well, maybe because I'm not nearing the limit, that's why. But sometimes if you see that bar and it shows you that you're red, it means that you need to, yeah, then you need to do something, about it. Yes, it does look familiar. This is similar to the, yes, it's a well, this is similar to desktop. Well, the way to download the code to the desktop, this is what I did. I took this, I did this Control A, right? Copy, then Control C, right? I could copy, and then I opened the TextPad file, and paste it. That's what I do. Because if you do this, if you do file, save as, no, you cannot do it this way because you're gonna save it to the cloud, okay? I did it both. I save it to the cloud and I also save it on my PC. I just did copy and paste. Yeah, yes, no problem. This is fine, yes. You just copy and paste whatever works for you, right? But this is fine. Yeah, and you want to keep it updated, right? As you edit, right? Well, uh, well, you can save it. I saved it here, but I also want to save it on my computer. I want to save it on my computer because if it's a night when the assignment is due and for unknown reason RStudio would not launch, I want to have a copy, so that way I can go in and submit my
No,
assignment.
we just lost you. Looks like.
Ah,
Oh, okay. You're back. I thought we lost you. I was not able to hear anything.
oh, you weren't able to hear?
Yeah, I don't know if it was just me or just
Maybe.
everyone, but yeah.
Oh, maybe just you. I don't know. Okay. So guys, if you cannot hear me, please let me know. You were able, okay. Well, it's technology, you know, things, glitches happen all the time.
Yeah,
So, yeah, but
you are fine, Yelena. We could hear you. That's okay.
good. Yeah, but yeah, no, you're not saving it to the notebook, Clay. This is the RStudio area. This is RStudio. But you also want to save a copy on your computer because you don't want to be, you know, anything could happen. If you cannot log into your account, you don't want this to affect your grade. Well, a lot of you, I realize I was a student too, so I understand that some of you are concerned of grades, that you need to do well for, well, of course, everybody needs to do well to graduate from the program, it's understood. But if you show the instructors that you learned, that you can apply what you learned, you should be fine. I mean, you should be fine, okay? A copy of what computer is no, it's not a notebook. No, 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 no. We are not working in with the notebooks. This is just the script, okay? This is not, no, 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 this is not a notebook, Clay. We're not using the notebooks in this assignment. We are writing just the SQL script. But you have to do it on a cloud environment. You're not doing it on your PC environment. But what you're doing on your PC, you want to have a copy of this code. This is me. I like to have copies on my desktop. And Linesh, do you remember we did a meetup and what happened to the service and I had an output copy saved on my PC? Remember what happened?
Yep, I remember.
So yes, exactly. Yes, I'm glad that you got it. Yes, because yeah, yes. Okay, no, because this is yeah. You want to be safe because then you're gonna, it's like things pile up really quick in this class. You have this assignment, right? Well, the way it works is that if you finish this assignment, the sentiment analysis tutorial assignment early as a gift, you get more days for your assignment 3, right? As soon as you finish, if you submit sentiment analysis tutorial, you get access to assignment 3. So assignment 3 cannot be done in one sitting. You have to plan time accordingly, right? And also, if, well, if sometimes it might happen this way. Sometimes the console is down, but application, the database is still up. So that could happen too. So if you cannot get into console to do this, the SQL, see if you can get to R, because R connects straight to the database. You're not going through the application layer. Well, here, this is again when it's important to understand the architecture. Some of you wondering why you need to understand the architecture. When in this specific case, you have several layers. You have a database layer, right? And you have an application layer. Sometimes the application could be down, the console, like the launch button is not working. However, if you already loaded your data, you might still be able to access your database from R, because database might be running, but the application layer could be down. You see, you need to understand the architecture, and also because even if all you do is just analysis, one day you come back and your work is gone, you need to know where your work could be recovered. Without knowing the architecture, it's very difficult to figure out, right? So you're going to be working with administrators, And well, you need to understand, you need to have a high level overview of an architecture. It's like when you're doing exercises, you need to understand the body anatomy, right? You need to understand how the muscles are connected, because it will help you understand what you're doing and why things hurt, right? Something like that. It's similar here. You have to understand the architecture, so we cannot skip the readings because it will give you a better idea of what's going on inside, if you will. Yeah. So I hope it addresses some of the concerns. Professor Zan, am I right? Or Helena? No, that was one of the questions that some people ask. Why do we need to know the architecture? Well, you do. And here we have a specific example when you do, because sometimes you won't be able, sometimes you're not able to launch the console, but you may still go back and do the R work. Okay. Oh, speaking of R, so how do we exit? Remember this? Quit session. You quit the session, then you're gonna close. And then you're gonna go back here and you're gonna do the stop. Okay? Stop. If you don't do this, your environment is gonna consume hours. Your environment is gonna consume hours until it times out. Okay? So now if I go refresh, it's gonna show that I used. See this? It's counting. It's counting. I was there for like 10 minutes maybe. Okay. Now, anybody wants to add something? Instructors?
Well, not
Yeah.
regarding this, but just wanted to take this opportunity to remind everyone about the Kaggle competition. It's
Yeah.
just a little more than 3 weeks left. So just a plug in for that and a reminder. We have one student who was kind of already in it and has submitted. So, if nobody challenges the student, well, you know what happens. This person is winning the competition then, right? So, spend some time. And once again, I know you've got a lot of other work going on here, assignments and stuff, but it's a good competition to be, and also platform to learn. So it shouldn't take a lot of your time. Okay. Good luck.
Yeah, and it has the same value as one of the discussions. So if you missed, perhaps if some of you, if you missed the discussion one, if you do this Kaggle competition, it makes up the value that you missed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's one way to recover your grade if you missed the discussion one. Well, it's all about numbers, right? Well, yeah. But for me, I would say focus on learning the material, because, well, if your job, if you learn the material and if you demonstrate it, grade is instructor's task. That's how I see it. You're gonna, I mean, uh, I could tell you reasons why people did not pass the class before. There are multiple reasons, but if you don't do anything on that list that we tell you not to do, you should be fine. No guarantee, but if you don't do, well, if you submit original work, if you don't write papers by copy and paste from the web, that's the first thing. That's one reason people don't do well, because they write papers as copy paste from the web, right? You're not gonna do it, right? You're gonna submit the work. You're gonna submit the work on time. You're gonna put your best effort. Should be no problem. As far as I know, I've been doing this. I've been TA for this course since 2016 or 15. Unless you were in the second group, right? Yes.
I want to add something regarding Kaggle competition.
Yes.
So the thing is, think about, it's not just the grade you are
Oh
going to
yeah.
get in the class, is what you are going to prove to yourself that you are prepared to do something. You get more confidence that you can apply for certain job, because Kaggle competition is something recognized in the whole state. So it's very important. Just uh, don't limit yourself just thinking about the grade you are going to get. Of course, it's very important. I understand that. We understand that. But try, I understand the stress. Try to think long term. Try to prove yourself. You're prepared, you have learned it, and you get more confidence to get a good job. I think this is very important also.
Uh,
Yeah, that's a great ad there, Elena. Agree.
oh yeah, that's right. Because if you focus on learning the material, if you illustrate, the grade will be there but for you. I mean, instructor will take care of your grade if you take care of illustrating what you know and applying what you know. Yes. I mean, yeah. Mm. You're greatly confused? Well, no, don't worry.
No is confident.
Oh, you're greatly Oh, you're confident. I'm sorry. I'm trying. Should be paying attention. Yeah, exactly. Well, so you need to be confident in yourself. You'll do fine then. I mean, I told you what people do to fail the class, right? So you don't do this, and you won't be on the list. Oh, not confident? Oh no, you need to believe in yourself. Oh, if when you come to a job interview, you need to believe in yourself. That works. If you do that, then you know.
Well, one of the way, if you are not confident, is to prove yourself. So we are giving more opportunity. Beside the grading assignment, you have the competition. That is exactly the point I want to make. If you feel not confident, try to prove yourself. So you're gonna be more confident when you apply to job. And this is very important because when you go to interview, your employer feel how confident you are. So try to get, that is exactly what I'm trying to say. Trying to do the competition is giving you more confidence, the thing you can do.
And trust me, I've seen some data science, interviews, and some of the things that people put on their resume is Kaggle competition. And I'm not making this up, guys. I've seen that, and then people who've really done well in the competition, they've gone on to add it. So there you go. You get to add that, plus you get the boost, you get the confidence of knowing, hey, I was able to apply whatever I've learned. And if not, that's fine too, right? This is the perfect place to stumble and learn, and nobody's judging you. We all want you to be successful. So go ahead, try it out, learn it.
Mm, yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. So yeah, other questions? We're gonna be monitoring the tickets over the weekend.
Sure.
I think everything is going fine. I see the class going fine, so it's not surprise we don't have more question. People are going to work and some question are gonna come up and will be answered. That is normal way we are working.
And it's
That
Friday
is great.
night also. It's also Friday night.
Well, we already
I
have
know.
spent hour and a half.
Yes,
You
it's
have to
an.
be mindful.
Oh
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know it's Friday, so oh well.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, guys, if there are not questions, I want to thank you everyone to taking the time to listen more, even if don't have specific question. In wishing you wonderful evening and productive weekend. Bye.
Yep. Good night. Same to you. Thanks, Ilona. Great job. Thanks again.